Right at the top, we're going to go right away into this, Brian. And this is from mortgageresearch.com. Now, this is a place we don't normally cite on the show. It's very mortgage-centric, very mortgage data-driven, and usually only for people inside the mortgage industry. However, due to the NAR lawsuit, this is an important one we need to go over because last week we talked about the what this means for veterans and VA buyers in the process, basically because the buyer's settlement or the buyer's commission can't be advertised on MLS and what that means and all that. So this article is 6 potential scenarios for veterans after the rule change. So from mortgageresearch.com, there are plenty of possible outcomes for veterans from a status quo to a major shakeup for veteran buyers. Likely it will be somewhere in between, and below are potential scenarios for users of VA homes. So let's go one by one. There's 6 different scenarios. We'll just pit stop through them real quick, okay? So number 1, they cite sellers predominantly continue to pay buyers' agents.
So, hey, hello.
What a novel idea.
Wow. No, so, I mean, right off the bat, it only said the buyer's agent commission may not be advertised in the listing. So, clear picture right there. You just can't put how much the buyer is going to be making on that deal, nor can it be, advertised up front.
Right.
But that also drives quality buyers, people that are, probably strongly approved. And that is also something that sellers don't want to lose out on because it could easily take away, really good offers that could be presented to them just because compensation is not there for the person that has it. When you make a deal, it usually is like, hey, I have a buyer. Whenever type of business you do, it's like, hey, I have a buyer, you have a seller. How do we get compensated for our service? Everywhere down the line, no matter what business your service, referral business, you have to compensate wherever the deal comes from. That's just the way that business is done. I just feel it's the natural law of living. But, again, we'll see how they actually, get this done.
So the seller may bypass offers requiring buyer side commissions. But again, this brings up a whole nother issue when it comes to ethics inside real estate. And we've heard this argument already pertaining to this is, agents are already showing or only showing buyers homes that have the highest commissions. Well, that's not necessarily true, and it still requires the buyer to like that house. If you show me a house I think is ugly and stupid and I don't like it, and that's not the floor plan I want, but it doesn't matter what the commission's paying the realtor. If I don't like that house, I don't like that house. So to a certain degree, and I do hold the line on this, as a consumer, if I don't like the house, I'm not making an offer. I'm only going to make an offer on a house that I like, and that house will have some sort of commensurate commission connected to it, and my buyer's agent's going to get whatever that is.
And I mean, nowadays with, being able to jump on Zillow, Redfin, right away, you can already see the houses, whether they don't have any commission being advertised, you're still sending the buyer's still going to send that to their buyer's agent and be like, hey, I want to see this. And if that house isn't propping a commission, what's the buyer's agent going to tell them? Hey, I'm sorry, that one's not paying, so you're probably better off just calling them yourself and showing up.
So check this out. And this is something that may be a little foreign to some of the viewers, but those who are inside the industry, if you're watching this, you might feel this is familiar. In this section, it says that in theory, sellers could make a practice of removing all VA offers from the stack. I think that's called steering. Actually, it's not actually steering. It sounds a lot like steering.
It's like breaking one law to make one law.
Well, yeah, because that would be a problem too, right?
Yeah.
We're not going to accept offers from people that have this kind of financing.
So now that's discrimination as well. Hey, whoa, guys, come on, now we're running a thin line here.
Okay, so number 1 is the sellers predominantly continue to pay buyers' agents. That is probably one of the most likely things to happen. Again, the commission lawsuit says that doesn't say that sellers cannot pay buyer commission. It's that the buyer's commission cannot be advertised on the MLS service in listing. Okay, so option or idea number 2 here is VA changes its rule. Ding, ding, ding. That's what we talked about last week. The easiest thing to do would to be make an amendment to the VA rule that says that the veteran buyer in their non-allowables is not allowed to pay buyer side compensation to their buyer broker. That would be the easiest thing. And the VA is already working on a solution according to an official who was quoted in that Housing Wire article we talked about.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, go ahead, read it out.
So it says the VA will under significant pressure to change its rule. In March 2024, NAR President Kevin Sears wrote an open letter to the VA Loan Guarantee Service Executive John Bell. It stated VA current rule will put veterans at a disadvantage of home sales where sellers don't provide compensation.
Yeah.
So it's basically like we were saying, if they don't if they're not showing the compensation up front, the buyer's agent can, steer to not show that property, but at the same time that takes away that opportunity from the buyer if he really likes that property. If that property would have been a great fit for him, just because unfortunately your buyer can't get paid. Now the buyer itself, the reason why they're even there to show the property, can't even get the house.
Well, and that brings up another concern question is that, the VA eligibility is considered a benefit. And is it a benefit if you can't use it? So one of the things here they're talking about is when they're engaged somehow with the Department of Justice with this to review the implications and evaluate how they can best ensure that the program remains an attractive option for veterans. But it's supposed to be, eligibility is supposed to be because you served and you met the criteria for having this benefit as a service member. And then if it means that you can't use it, then it actually zeroes out the net of the benefit at all.
It is really not just a benefit. You're still going to have to pay. I mean, you still got closing costs, and then now a buyer, so you're in a way paying equivalent to.
So I think one or two things, or maybe both have to happen. Number one, they changed the rule. It says that the buyer is allowed to pay for their agent or their buyer side broker fee, number one. And the other thing is allowing the seller contributions to be increased to cover that.
Yeah.
That's another thing I don't think I saw in here, but there is a cap, for all of you who don't know, there's a cap on how much compensation a seller can give the VA buyer towards closing costs, fees, and et cetera, as part of the transaction. I think it's 6%, right?
6%.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, if the agent were to be paid, let's say 3%, maybe the VA could increase their total allowable compensation from seller up to 9%, provided that expenses didn't exceed 6 and commission could be up to 3 more. And that would be a nice way to do kind of both and.
But if you look at it, you'd still have to, if you're going to put it into the loan, you're still going to be financing it. And
it's already in the loan now.
It is, but now you're going to be able to basically do it upright.
It's already in the loan now. So you're buying a VA loan for 100%, and the house is $750,000. That $750,000 includes the seller's commission and the agent's commission, and you're getting a loan for $750,000. So it's already included now.
Either way, they're already paying for it. I agree with you. They're basically already paying for it. They're just not disclosing it and saying, "Hey, that's what it is."
Yeah,
you're already buying it at the price that the seller's selling it. It's already baked in the commission.
Right. So it could be a point of clarification where, on one hand, they're allowed to pay the buyer broker commission if they just make an amendment to the rule that says they can't, and then maybe increasing the ability or the amount that they can have for seller contributions or closing costs.
Yeah, no, I think that'd be a great solution, because then now you make it a level playing field. It's fair for everybody, and you can continue to move forward.
Well, again, and sellers still have a choice. This isn't handcuffing sellers that they have to do that. They can go, no thanks. So it's not that it's forcing that upon someone else. It still takes the buyer and the seller to agree on the terms and conditions of the contract.
Yeah.
Number three here, we have VA buyers forego agent representation. This is a terrible idea. I understand it's a scenario.
Horrible.
These are not. By the way, these are 6 potential scenarios. These aren't 6 potential solutions.
I like that.
I don't like this at all. This is definitely not an ideal scenario for veterans. There's a lot of steps that, if you are unfamiliar with this could be problematic for you representing yourself in the largest purchase of your life, most likely. And there are a lot of people to coordinate.
I mean, I'll put you a very simple example. When you get sued or when you need to go to court, you don't represent yourself, because you might know about the law and how it works, but you're going to want someone that's an expert that detailedly knows exactly how to work their way around, how to be able to get you the best terms, how to be able to maneuver in a rocky scenario when you don't understand what all these terms are, or all these documents that are coming at you that you have never in your life seen, because you go to work, you're a parent, and you do that for a living.
Yeah.
So all this stuff to use, like literally a complete foreign language. So just think about it in that perspective. Would you like to go, literally unrepresented with no protection, nobody's having your back completely, and you saying, "Hey, I have the best intentions for myself." Yeah, you do, but you might not know much of anything.
Well, and I mean, look, let's talk really briefly about all the people that are touch points in the process of buying a home using your VA. You have the loan officer, a processor. You have a title office, escrow office. You have a home inspector, that the home inspector would need to be coordinated and scheduled by the realtor. You have an appraiser, especially a VA appraiser. If anything in the inspection or the appraisal needs to be repaired, that has to go through a request for repairs to the selling agent for them to consider, and then rebuttal, go back and forth.
Yep.
Then you have to make any sort of negotiations for who's going to pay for what and how it's going to get done. Then you actually have to, if there's anything that has to be repaired prior to closing, you have to get the service people out there, whether it's plumbing or electrical or it's foundation or
roofing. You're
project
manager.
Hold on, that. And then you still have people who's going to review all your disclosures with you, or your state and federal disclosures for buying a house, and you have to talk to the transaction coordinator. Now, those are just people I thought of like right now as I'm walking in here to talk about this with you. There's probably others I'm just not thinking about, but those are the most common points of contact you're going to have. And also, you're still working every day, managing your life. Like, this is why you have a realtor.
And a lot of these documents or these steps are very time sensitive. So you need to get them literally within minutes. People that are like having your information that could move very quickly, you're going to have that ability to do.
Okay, park there for a second. This isn't because we're saying you have to rush through the process. It's because there are certain time frames that if you miss those time frames, you could be risking deposit if you have an earnest money deposit. You could be risking other sorts of terms that you've agreed to with the seller that if you pass that line on the calendar, you can't go back and go, oh, sorry. Like, no. So that's a great point. I didn't think about that in this section of the show, but that's a great point because it's not just about doing things quickly. It's about doing them in a timely fashion pursuant to the contract. That's an illegal agreement.
And efficient. You might get it done, but then, oh, no, that's not what we need. That's not what we need. When someone that's been doing this already knows what needs to be done, they could easily pass it through their system. And it's like, that's going to alleviate a lot of money, a lot of stress, and a lot of just, bad situations.
I don't want to go too hard on this, but this is almost leaving the door open for loan officers to represent buyers and just work with the transaction coordinator. I'm just saying. Okay, next thing, another scenario.
Oh, I want to know what the agents think about that in the comments.
Agents, and I'm not saying that it should be done, but it totally leaves the door open for that.
No, but like it says, it doesn't.
Well, we already talked to escrow. We already talked to title. We are the lender. We're already talking to the bank. Anyways, agents think twice about working with veteran buyers. That one sucks too. Because again, now this is discrimination. You're saying, based on the type of financing you're doing, I don't want to work with you. First of all, they're claiming that working with a veteran could mean working pro bono. That is fine. Could mean is a big, asterisk right there. And there are few agents who can afford to work for free. There is almost no agents that will do it for free.
There's I don't think I know any agent that will.
Yeah, I mean, unless you're just doing it as a good deed and a good service, I understand that people might want to do that, but that means they got to be making money somewhere else for their life.
Yeah, of course.
But if you choose not to work with veterans or warn the veteran they can only make offers on homes with seller-paid commissions, again, isn't that redlining? You're saying you can't go see these homes. Like that's why we have redlining rules. We have rules in place so that you can't do this.
Any home that you like.
Right. Oh God. Okay.
But none of that does.
So yeah, I would hate to see agents step back from helping veterans who are using their VA home loan, but I do see that as a scenario. There's going to have to be some sort of compensation for agents. There just is. Let's go to the next one. 5, VA buyers stop using VA loans.
That's
definitely a scenario, but again, voids the benefit, or what we call the VA home loan benefit.
Yeah, exactly.
It could be a very costly choice.
And when the VA, you're comparing it to other loans, you have no down payment, no mortgage insurance. You really come in with the minimal amounts of closing costs. It really just puts a sour taste in your mouth if you're a VA buyer. Like, why would you even consider using your VA when you? Well,
you can't. That's what I'm saying. It completely negates the benefit from existing.
I don't like that.
Yeah, I don't like it either. And it's not just a business thing. It's like, again, if you're telling people as a part of your service, you get XYZ, ABC, 1, 2, 3, all these benefits, and we're just talking about the home loan benefit today. But there's a lot of benefits you get as a veteran and active duty service member. And this completely negates that if you just don't use your VA loan. Now, I will also say the caveat for us here at Mortgage Heroes, we have had plenty of people who their initial purchase was their VA loan, and then they refinance out of it. And when they PCS somewhere else or they retire somewhere else, they have their eligibility renewed and they can use their eligibility again.
Yeah.
So that is a case that's more strategic and more with financial planning, long view legacy planning in place, and having much more, let's say, what's the word I'm trying to think of? Like you're really attuned to what you want long range, and you make 10, 20, and 30-year decisions, not just impulse choices. So my point,
long-term thinker.
Yeah, long-term thinker, but attuned and like more financially like thumb on the pulse of what you want for your life in the future, and leverage the different situations you're in. And if you have BAH, you're basically using your BAH to buy a home.
That's the leverage,
You can refinance out of it later to a conventional loan and then go use your VA again somewhere else.
Yeah.
You could be using your VA to buy a multi-unit property. I mean, there's things we don't talk about right now that are done and that we have done with people to help them basically enrich themselves.
Yeah.
So,
and there's a lot of ways to leverage it. It's just basically understanding how you can maneuver through it.
Yeah. Okay, and then the last scenario here is veterans make offers only on unwanted homes. But if they're unwanted for a reason. Why would the veteran just buy,
I'll take that one. Home. No, and then predominantly, like those types of houses are people that are going to come in, invest in them, and then, turn around and sell them for profit. But if we know anything about the VA is that they're also one of the most strictest when it comes to the appraisal and the property in itself. So if the property isn't up to VA code or there's certain things that the VA doesn't allow for, good luck trying to get that house financed. refinance. It's not going to happen. It's happened where, we
Yeah.
get back that guideline. Hey, you have this. The seller doesn't want to repair because they're just, hey, I'm not going to invest another $13,000 to take away that termite or whatever that case might be. So again, you are out of luck. You can't move forward with that property because VA guidelines state so.
Yeah, the appraisal is an important
Yeah.
part of the VA loan. So is the home inspection. Home inspection.
Home
Hey,
infection.
you know why? You said unwanted homes, like, oh, it's infested. There's an infection
infested.
of infestation. No, it's like, so basically having the appraisal cleared is a condition of getting VA financing. And if the appraisal has things that need to be repaired or fixed, there might not be ability to finance it anyways with VA. So,
Yeah.
Okay, Brian. So I'm thinking of this article, the things that are most likely to happen is that the VA changes its rule and that buyers agents are still going to get paid somehow.
Yeah.
I really just think that's going to be the way it is. So we'll have to see, but we'll definitely come back to this one and talk about that. Maybe there's some new things that we'll see in the weeks coming up to July 1st. We're only a couple months away now. We'll see what that looks like. But
Oh, God, that's
yeah.
quick.